Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm in New York. I'm joined by Ray Clifford from Ohio. Ralph Schrager is doing a remote from Sarasota, Florida. As the Jets went, they hosted actually Houston, and they won 30-6 in a game that's not even really as close as the score, though the first half was 0-0. And I just want to say this. This was the best game Zach Wilson has played since he has put on the green and white. I personally didn't think he had it in him. I'm happy to eat crow. It was very, very nice to see. With that said, it was 0-0 at halftime. And until the second half, when it looked like Hackett took the reins off of him and Ray and Ralph have been saying all year, on a lot of first down plays, he wasn't running the ball in the second half, and it opened things up. So with that, I want to say hello to Ray. How you doing today?
Good. Great. Great Sunday now.
It is. And Ralph, how you doing?
I'm fine. Anyway, full disclosure, I saw the first half on the plane, then they kicked me off when we landed, so I didn't see much of the second half, but I'll ask you guys plenty of questions about it because I kept rubbing my eyes as I was checking my phone, thinking something's wrong with my phone. I have to charge it.
Yeah,
Right.
You've got it backwards.
well, look, I can tell you this, Ralph. The story begins and has to end with Zach Wilson, who has gone through a lot of criticism and not least from myself. You know, I've been on him for over 2.5 years now. And he used the word reluctant as far as playing this week, but not only did he show up physically, he showed up mentally. He saw the field, the vision, which I didn't think he had it in him. He was great. He threw some nice hard ropes. He threw some touch passes. He used our tight ends. He threw a back shoulder to Garrett Wilson. He even hit Randall Cobb on a crossing pattern for a touchdown. And he was outstanding. It was just so nice to see that from the quarterback position. When I myself, really, I almost just was just throwing the whole season under the bus, assuming we were going to lose our last 5 games. So I got to hand it. It was the best game as a Jet for Zach Wilson, and it was the best game as a Jet for Nathaniel Hackett, who really in the second half called an outstanding game. And it should be interesting to see where this continues. So with that, I want to get Ray's first reaction. I know Ray was also running a little late too. So go ahead, Ray. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I missed the first quarter, but I guess missing the first half wasn't that big a deal. It was shaping up to be another, typical game by halftime at 0-0. I thought, oh, Lordy.
It had a different feel in the first half.
Yeah.
You have to admit.
Even though I didn't see a lot of it, they were moving the ball. But I will say the talk will be all and deservedly so about Wilson and how he looked so much different. But you got to really give the offensive line a lot of credit because he had time back there for once to sit back there and scan the field a little bit and see what was going on. They got to him a little bit, but it was nothing like some of these other games where, play after play, he's almost immediately under pressure. So our offensive line gets some kudos today from me anyway, that they played a much better game than I've expected or seen out of them for weeks. Yeah, and Nathaniel Hackett too. You're right. He wasn't calling the typical game plan. I think a lot
He
of
started out that way though. You ran the first, of course, the first play was a handoff up the middle, and the second play was too. And it's like, here we go again. And I didn't hear from Ray, and now I know why.
well,
Right.
that was just setting them up. I'm gonna start out like always, and then change it up from there. But yeah, the Randall Cobb thing. That caught me so off guard. I was like,
I didn't even know he was on the dressed.
When he caught it, I'm like, who is that? Who is that? So I saw it.
And Ralph, he actually showed some movement and speed, which was nice to see. And I will say this because when the Jets announced that they put Wes Schweitzer on the injured reserve, I guess they went after this guy, Jake Hansen. Now, I don't know when they went after him. I guess he was from the Green Bay practice squad. But Ray mentioned the offensive line. I just want to talk about that a little. This Jake Hansen, the first half, he was terrific. He got a little tired the second half, but he played very well. With that said, the first half, Max Mitchell was just awful. He was horrendous. And Mekhi Becton, he just cannot handle these quick guys. He can't play left.
No,
Now,
yeah.
I want to just also mention about Mekhi Becton that they called a play on him, illegal use of the hands. That was a
Yeah, that was a
horrible
cheap
call.
ball. That was a cheap ball.
Horrible call.
And the other one against Sauce later, I don't know what they call it. Remember when he batted the ball down and and it was like, oh, here we go again. The poor beleaguered Jets. I mean, yeah, even the announcers were like, well, where's the penalties on these plays?
I was a little shocked at the roughing the passer, which didn't end up counting because we did also do a pass interference to the end zones, and that's the one they went with. But then they showed the replay, and Quinnen gave this tiny little shove to Stroud, and they threw a flag. I was like, oh God, these guys.
Quinn Williams, man, he doesn't have the numbers this year, but boy, that guy is terrific.
Well, Ralph, you missed the second half. They came out with a very telling stat.
Yeah,
that he's been double teamed more than any other player this year in the NFL, which is interesting. It just shows you. And
it makes sense.
Yeah, I know Quentin Jefferson's having a pretty good year, but I'm just wondering if Sheldon Rankins wasn't on that defensive line, if it would be better. But I want to mention again this Jake Hansen. I know we have all these injuries in the offensive line, but if everyone comes back and somehow this guy develops, it's not as bad as we think it is. But I want to ask Ray a question right away because we were texting back and forth, and Ray, on the play that Stroud was hurt, they showed a replay, but they didn't really focus in. Was it Quinnen Williams or did he push the offensive lineman into him? I wasn't sure how that happened.
From what I saw, he was tackled by our guy, I thought, but it didn't look like a late hit or a cheap shot or anything. He just got a hold of him and brought him down hard, and his head snapped back and hit the ground. I actually, when they first were showing him laying there, and I felt bad because I like Stroud. And I like when, what he's done for that team. And I hate to see somebody go down. I thought it was maybe his back or something, the way he was writhing around. And then I saw the replay and saw his head bounce off the turf. And I'm like, okay, it's got to be a concussion. And hopefully it's something it's minor. But I think he was tackled. I don't think he was, I think he was knocked over by his guy because the way he was brought down is what kind of snapped his head back.
Was that a penalty on that play?
Well, that's what I'm going to say. You're going to see. I'm predicting, and they didn't call roughing the passer, but I'm predicting that Quinnen Williams is going to get fined like on Tuesday.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was that kind of a hit. I think it was just the incidental thing. I'll be surprised if he gets a fine for that. I didn't see anything about that one that. I mean, he got caught in a crush of people. It's not like he just ran back there and slammed him down. It was a crush of people. He brought him down, and he.
Okay, we'll say. I mean, I don't know if you heard what happened to Brees Hall this week. He got fined $32,000.
Yeah, I saw the replay too. That was garbage.
He got fined how much? 32,000.
43.
Or
$43,000.
And what was that for?
Describe it to Ralph.
He caught a pass last week. I think it was last week out in the flat. Like, he was probably about 5 or so. He was making a good gain on the play.
Right.
The guy came to tackle him. He lowered his head and he lowered his head. The other guy went in head first, and they kind of hit helmets. I don't think it was him lowering his head that did it, but it caused the guy a concussion, and they gave him.
So if Brees Hall had got the concussion, they would have fined the other.
Would have been okay with it. But
doesn't make any sense at all.
Let's see
it's
what
a new rule apparently.
I remember that play. I do remember that play. Yeah. I can't believe it.
And he did lower his head, but the other guy's coming in head first. So what do you think's gonna? What do you think's gonna hit first?
And I just wanted to say also, I overreacted. Ray, I don't think you saw it. Ralph might have seen it. There was a play in the first half on the sideline to Garrett Wilson, where Robert Saleh threw the red flag. When he did that, I said, "That's ridiculous."
Waste of a
It was
timeout.
waste, but if you looked at it close, I don't know if
It
you
was
saw
really
it
close.
was a lot closer
Absolutely.
than in real time, which is
Yeah.
funny. In fact, it was one of those plays, Ralph. If they happened to call him in,
Probably would have kept the call.
they
Yeah.
would have kept the call. So, apologies to Robert Saleh. It was worth taking a shot, though I didn't think it was going to happen.
Well, and that decision to throw the flag probably came from up in the booth.
Yes.
It probably wasn't Salah's
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. In real time, Ray, I mean, it looked like it wasn't even close.
Yeah. When you see it from a distance, that
That was like the one in the second half where it looked like the guy made a nice Singletary made a nice catch for the Texans, and then I'm like, touch him. He got up like he was going to start running again. And then they showed it and he didn't catch the ball.
Right. Let me just tell you a couple of my notes, and we'll talk about some stats. You could react. I know Ralph saw the first half. First half, it drove me nuts in the first quarter that they had a 1st and 20 and they ended up getting a first down after a second down run. Those things drive me crazy.
Yeah, you got about 15 yard chunk. Yeah.
Mosley dropped an interception. Ray saw the replay. He said it didn't think it was that close, but Ray, if you saw it from ground level, he should have had.
I didn't. I thought it when you first told me. I thought it, was one of those where it hit him like the other game when it hit him right in the hands. And
any wide receiver except Lazard would have caught that. But there's a reason Mosley's a linebacker, not a wide receiver.
Right. I also put down Bryce Huff had a great third down sack. It was phenomenal. He looked
he was active today for the first time in a few weeks. Yeah.
One play was unblocked, but on that one, the guy thought he could look inside. Then you can't, if you're not looking right at him, you can't look one way if you're an offensive tackle and catch up to Bryce Huff. Yeah. It's impossible. I also put down, I don't know what it is. Some of these teams we play, what a great punt that Houston punter had in the first quarter. It even mentioned it had like a 5-second hang time. It went like 6.
Well, I know, incredible. Yeah, he was very high.
Yeah, and I also made a note. They called that on Becton. It was a bad call, but Becton he gets beat so often.
Yeah, I'm with you, Marty. He's very shaky.
And Ralph, and he does the illegal procedure when it's like 3rd and 1, so it's then 3rd and 6. It's just.
I mean, if he's got a future in the league, it should be a right tackle. You're right. Yeah.
Oh, he's just awful. And I made a note in the first quarter. I said Breece Hall looked a lot better than he has the last.
See, Marty, the 3 week you've been complaining about him for 3 weeks now, and look what happens.
But I'll tell you, Ray, I don't know if you noticed though, but this guy Izzy, I don't like the way he looks, even though he touched the ball twice.
Getting in at scrub time, I'm not gonna really.
Okay, all right, you're better than
well, I'm more patient than you. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
3-month-old baby's more patient than Marty.
I know. I put on the second quarter, I put about that challenge. I put horrible challenge, and I said it wasn't as bad as I thought. And I put Houston had another great punt. It was just incredible.
Yeah. Well, Morstead had some nice ones too.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Right,
Marty. There was one play in the first half. And before they showed the replay, they made an announcement on the plane, so they blanked it out. It was a pass to Garrett Wilson, and at first it looked like it was an incompletion, and then I thought he fumbled it, and I never got to see the replay. What was the deal with that? I
thought it was a catch.
Yeah, it looked like it to me.
I thought he did a football move. He had 2 steps down, and it's the same BS that they pick and choose what instant replays and what to really comment on. So I just thought that was a bad call. I don't know if they went up to the booth to that guy at that time. I'm not sure. But I just want to, before I go on, I just want to ask you guys each and want your opinion now. If I was to tell you at this point in the season, what are we, 5-8 now?
Yeah.
13 games. I'm going to name 4 players. You tell me who you think's the best Jet. Okay, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, or Queenan Williams, or Quincy Williams. I'll put 5.
Are you talking about this year or right at this moment? You know what I mean? All year.
I'm going to say all year, or both. All year.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, Ray.
To me, it's Quinnen. I like Garrett, but Garrett's, got a few issues with, he'll make great plays, but he'll drop a few, he'll fumble one here or there. But Quinnen, like you said, he's been double teamed and he's still an effective guy. To me, Quinnen's the main guy that stirs that off defense.
I'm going to go next. I think Ralph's going to say the same as me. This Garrett Wilson, the way this guy talks his body and the way he leaves the body open, it gets me nervous. I don't think I've seen an athlete like this on the Jets forever. The guy's unbelievable. Remember 2 weeks ago I said, from now on, if we ever do a Hail Mary, put everyone in one corner, just put Garrett Wilson alone.
Yeah.
You have a good chance.
He'll find a way to get it.
This guy's incredible. And look at his numbers that we haven't had quarterback play really in like the last years. So, Ralph, what's your opinion? I say Garrett.
At this point, I think Wilson's been a little erratic this year, so I will go with Quinnen Williams. You know the thing about Quinnen Williams? Watch the way he gets off the ball. Boom! He's a half a step ahead of everyone else on the line. He's really remarkable. The thing about Garrett Wilson is, and it's like suddenly today, everyone's catching everything in sight because things are just clicking. I mean, he threw a couple of passes to Conklin over the middle. I mean, amazing passes and great catches.
It was Tom Brady-like.
Yeah, and
How about the catch by Ruckert?
Yeah, I mean, this stuff is contagious both ways. It works both ways.
Everything, you could feel it. You could feel it.
Well, Ray, on the first drive, Wilson looked different. Everyone looked crisp, and even though he screwed up on the last play, he got sacked out of field goal range. It just felt different.
Marty,
I don't know why. I don't know what the explanation is. I mean, I guess when an offensive line works better, everything works better. But
right,
who knows? Is he going to turn to a pumpkin next week, or is it going to continue?
I'm going to finish my second quarter notes, but I just want to jump to Ray because Ralph, it's funny you mentioned that because Ray sent me a note. And I didn't notice it. Ray, was Quinnen Williams that sack in the third quarter? Was he really lined up off sides?
I didn't think he was, but he.
Who sent me that note? Was it you?
Must
No.
have been Rob August.
Probably Rob.
It could have been my son. Somebody sent me a note, and I started.
No, I didn't. I only saw. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I only saw the one replay. But. He was lined up, I think, on the other side than normal. Was he lined up on the other side of the center than he normally is?
Well, he did that a couple times, and like Ralph said, they're starting to listen to Jets Rewind, so maybe that's why they had a good game.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. He can be at any position, and he'll make a
right.
point.
Yeah. Let me finish a couple of other things. I made a note. I said Wilson looks more decisive, even though it's nothing. And I made a note too. There's always one play that kills a drive. It just seems when they're driving, they get a sack.
Yeah.
I also made a note. There was a muff punt, and who recovers it? Adrian Amos.
Yeah, but Ashton Davis came close. That would have been the over on that.
He did. I made a note in the first half. Max Mitchell was awful. He was a little better in the second half. I also made a note. I had a reference to Ralph because he mentioned it. Sauce Gardner is tackling a lot better.
Yeah.
He was sticking his nose in there, so that was good. Before we continue, just a reminder, Jet fans, starting at our next preview show, we're going to have a giveaway of a T-shirt. We are already getting some letters in. My email is greenrewind@gmail.com.
Yeah, ignore the T-shirt.
What's that?
I said ignore the T-shirt that says Jets Rewind.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's Green Rewind. It's an email at gmail.com. And what we're doing is we're going to read 5 questions on the air, and we're going to have a drawing with pick one out of a hat right on the air. We're going to send you a free T-shirt. So please send me questions. It could be me. You could send me a question. Maury, how does it feel? How does the crow taste with Zach Wilson? I'll answer that on the air. I don't care.
Marty, and we're going to have a special guest who's going to answer the questions. It's going to be Karnak the Magnificent.
Karnak the Magnificent, right. It was nothing in the first half, and then we saw football like we haven't seen in a long time.
12 years, basically.
Well, since Mike White against those 2 or 3 games, but
Even that didn't compare to
Now,
this.
this was better than Mike White.
it was great. Queen Williams had that sack, and we've been crying for him. And I don't like anyone to get hurt, but what a difference without CJ Uzama, and you have Tyler Conklin, and then they start throwing the ball to Rucker. As Ray says, he made a catch where on the way down it was like bobbled, and he was on his back, and it never hit the ground. It was a phenomenal catch, reminiscent early in the year of that Garrett Wilson catch for a touchdown when he cradled it, it didn't hit the ground. It was
Reminiscent of Braxton Berrios not doing that in the Minnesota game last year.
Yes.
I want to point out one thing. I don't know if you guys noticed. I don't know if it was Ralph's friend Calabrese, Todd Downing, or Nathaniel Hackett. When Zach Wilson did play action today, he would not turn his back to the line. He would fake the handoff, but he always kept his eyes looking at the defense. If you look at some of the highlights, you'll see that. Before today, he always turned his back. So I don't know if they picked up a technique, a flaw, or whatever. I don't know if this is going to carry over for the rest of the year. But he was great, and he kept his eyes downfield. It was terrific. And when he had to roll out, I mean, that pass when he rolled out to the left side and threw it across his body to Garrett Wilson was phenomenal. And I'll tell you, one more little move, Garrett Wilson would have broke that.
Yeah.
Ray, what do you think of that pass?
I thought just in general, it was a good day for Zach. He made a throw to, I think it was Conklin, where he just put it just over I think it was a linebacker's hand on it might've been on the series where we got the penalty early. So it was like 1st and 19 or something, or 1st and 20. And he threw one to Conklin that just went over the linebacker's hand, and he caught it for a first down. I mean, he was making good throws all over. And Garrett, every time he catches a ball, I think if you just give him a little space before before the guy's on him, he can make a move. And
why aren't we sending him long more, Garrett? I mean, he's plenty fast.
Even the one he did throw long, he put out of bounds. I wish he just put it in bounds so he could make the play.
Ralph, the only thing like a post pattern. The only thing I think is they know they're going to double team him with the safety. But I agree with you, Ralph. We've been speaking about that for weeks and weeks.
Well, he can just clear out a space for other people. It's like
yeah. But the good thing also is, and he's becoming a good player, Xavier Gibson, who had that touchdown. He's being used more. He only had like 1 reception for a couple of yards, but you could see this guy's a player. And like I said, a few weeks ago, I wanted him off the punt return team, but he looks so much more comfortable right now. Which is really good.
Call when he scored, he was great because he just slowed down and waited for the blocking to, get where he needed it to be. And then he just took the seam and went right up in for the touchdown. I love that he didn't just keep going to the outside. I thought they'd have forced him out of bounds before the end zone, and he just slowed up.
Right.
Took it straight up into the end zone. That was great.
That was a great point where he showed a hesitation.
Yeah.
Kind of like Brees Hall does sometimes. And he picked this spot. I love the last drive. I thought was Zach Wilson's best drive of his career. I think that was a really, really good drive. It was nice. And look, got to hand it. I don't know how they did it with this offensive line, especially the second half. And Zach was good. He was getting rid of the ball, but they finally gave him time. And Ralph, and you spoke about this a few weeks ago. What's his name? Garrett Wilson was our leading receiver, 9 receptions, 108. Guess who our second leading receiver was?
Got to be Brees Hall.
Brees Hall, 8 receptions, 86. Remember we were talking about that?
More and more more and more they're going to him.
He isn't getting as many runs. He had a couple of good runs in the second half, but we're finding a way to get him the ball out in space and let him do something there.
He did get a chunk play called back today. I think it was a pass play in the first half.
Right.
That's another one of the obligatory bonus that the Jets make every week.
Yep.
I don't know why.
While we're on that, I just want to read, he said Brees Hall 8 for 86. And rushing he had 10 carries for 40. But Ralph, what was the over under? 35?
Yeah, yeah. Boy, right on the money, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty good. But even though he only had 40 yards, I think we'll all agree he looked a lot better.
Oh yeah, a lot better. Yeah.
A lot better. And
And actually, he got tackled for a 5-yard loss
Yes, he
on
did.
one play.
Yeah.
So actually, he had more.
that's true. You're right.
Yeah, that was what's his name? Becton whiffing on the linebacker. I remember.
He's like a 50% blocker. It's just I've never
Yeah,
seen
he's.
anything like it. It's Ralph. It's Sam Walton reincarnated. You know?
We'll have to-
Tyler Conklin had 4 receptions for 57. Jeremy Ruckert had 3 receptions for 37. If you look at it combined, that's pretty good. I mean, that's like 7 receptions over 90 yards. And if you've been following the Jets as long as us, the production out of the tight ends has been next to nil. So
Yeah.
that's probably our best game from the tight end position in I don't know, years. And
That is why they brought Uzama here. He was supposed to, be more the receiving guy who got, chunk yards and stuff, and it just didn't pan out that way. So hopefully Ruckert and Conklin can kind of fill that void.
well, not only did it not pan out, but Ruckert is so much better blocker than Zama, and you don't lose that much as far as receiving. The more you see him playing.
Oh, I don't think he'll lose anything. I think Uzama's a real slow-footed guy, and
Right.
Rucker can get way further down the
Ruckert's his receiving is kind of thrown to the side like it's not that good, but
Right.
he didn't get a lot at Ohio State because of who they had at receivers. So
Yeah.
he's a much better receiver than people realize.
Yep. And as Ralph said, Ray, I don't know how many of you guys saw, he had these 2 touch passes in this seam that were Tom Brady like right over the defender who had Conklin covered pretty well, and he made
That was the one I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he did one in each half, I think.
yes, one in each half.
Yeah, almost the
Great.
identical play, and they were both covered.
Yeah.
I don't know. So do you think how much do you think Rodgers had to do with Wilson's game today? Because I remember hearing an interview with him, and he was saying that he was confident. He said, we're focusing on certain things, basics, and I don't know. I mean,
Well, I think you got to take the second half, and that's how you have to make a game plan moving forward for the rest of the year. I don't know what sort of influence he had or not. All I know is Ralph Ray sends me a text before the game that a trade has already been worked out with Zach Wilson to a team for a 5th-round pick. Did you hear anything? I said, I haven't heard anything. I don't believe a team would give a 5th-rounder at this point in the year for next year.
That was just one site that was saying it, but the actual talk about them trading him. I mean, I Googled it after I saw this thing on the internet, and it's everywhere, including the Post, Sports Illustrated. They all kind of chimed in on it. So
yeah, when did that come out? Today?
Yeah, sources said they've already told him they're going to trade him after the season. So we'll see.
All right.
I didn't know when I heard the 5th-rounder, I was a little skeptical, but I would have been happy before this game. I would have been happy with anything.
Even before this game, I was thinking, you look around, well, just who the Jets have as their backups, and that they've been trying Rippon and Simeon and Boyle, and then you look at guys like Zappi and Mac Jones and all over the league. You suddenly look at Zach Wilson, and teams are going to look at him and say, give me a couple of years with this kid's talent, I'll coach him up. I think plenty of teams would think that, because there are so many bad, untalented quarterbacks who have slots on teams, that I think plenty of teams probably think they're smarter than the Jets, and they will know how to coach him up.
Just as raw athleticism has some coaches going, oh, this guy's not just like Mac Jones is a bit of a statue. Zappy's a little undersized, and I don't know how mobile he is. And you see Zach with all this ability athletic wise. And I know there's coaches who go, I can fix that.
Well, yeah, I remember Mike McCarthy when they were playing Dallas. the announcer was saying Mike McCarthy loves Tim Boyle and he wished that he had signed with him and he sees a lot in him.
Tim
And I'm
Boyle.
thinking if this is the way, these guys that think they're the smartest offensive minds in the room think when they look at Zach Wilson, they're probably going, "Oh yeah, I'll make this guy a darn good quarterback." And the question is now, here's the question that we're going to have to talk about: what happens if going forward for the rest of the year, Wilson starts playing at this level for most of the rest of the games? What do we do then?
I want to see it.
Of course.
I will say that if he does it through the rest of the year, look at the competition we got. That would make it a really hard decision. Cleveland's defense, Miami's defense.
Right.
Oh,
I'll say this. Look, I've been, and I know I keep using the term the biggest basher, but in my life, I try to be as flexible as I could. And if I could be convinced that I've been wrong, I'm fine with that. If somehow, like all of a sudden a light went on, but Ralph, you're a pretty good historian. How many quarterbacks, that high in the draft, all of a sudden 3-4 years down the road, the light goes on, and I don't mean like even Gino, because that's like
Alex Smith, someone like that.
Yeah,
I
okay,
mean, he was good. I mean, he
Smith was
became a
pretty
good
good.
quarterback.
right.
Nothing spectacular, but of course he was under the tutelage of some really talented offensive minds.
Would you say Stafford, or no? He was good with the
Stafford was always decent. He just has been on a bad team all
Right.
along.
bad team and he had some injuries.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to think about that going back for guys who have been reclamation projects. But there's a first time for everything. Who knows? I'm not holding out a tremendous amount of hope because so much of his success will have to do with if the offensive line can play decently.
Right.
I don't want to go back too far, but Jim Plunkett.
Yes.
That's not bad, Ray. That's pretty good. Well, Jim Plunkett, when his rookie year with the Patriots started out really well, and then after his rookie year, it fell apart, and they just gave the job to Grogan, and he was a reclamation for a few years later with Oakland. Yeah.
Yeah, he went to San Fran first. And he was just like the backup there.
Yeah.
And then Flores gets him in Oakland.
Going way back before some of our fans were probably alive, names they might not have heard of. I remember Y.A. Tittle was not thought of very highly, and he really turned it around on the Giants.
Yeah, you get on the right team.
Yeah, well, that's the key, because if you remember, the other one I was going to bring up, the year he had, except for losing to the Jets in Super Bowl, Earl Morrall, he was unbelievable that way.
Oh, gosh, yes. Craig Morton, who I never liked on Dallas, he got to Denver, and he suddenly became a really good quarterback for a couple of years.
Right.
It can happen, I guess. If you got to get on the right team. And
listen, that would be a great problem to have.
Well, look at how they thought the Rams got the best of the trade with Detroit.
Jared Goff, that's another one. Perfect. Yeah. Although, he did start out, he did show it at first, and then he just fell apart.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's right.
It's true. You're right about that too. Yeah. Just a couple of defensive stats. Quincy Williams, 5 total tackles, 3 solo, but he's starting to look like the old Quincy in October. DJ Reed's great. Sauce Gardner was phenomenal. Mosley was good. Tony Adams made a nice breakup on a 3rd down pass.
What about our friend number 3? How did he do?
He was good. He was good. I was going to get to that. I thought Jordan Whitehead played a good game. And one thing, Ralph, that Ray had texted me as soon as he sat down at the bar, he says, "There they go, holding Jermaine Johnson again." And it takes back every play. It seems like they hold him. It's just, you never see anything like it. But, when you look at it, Ray, the Jets are fortunate because they have these defensive ends that are good pass rushers, Queen and Williams, and our cornerbacks and our slot cornerback. I don't know if they were talking about in the postgame show, and they may be right. I don't know if there's a better 3 in the NFL right now. Ray?
Well, I mean, like Miami's DBs are pretty good, and there's some Buffalo's were good before some of them started getting injured. But everything comes down to the lines.
Yes.
If your defensive line can get pressure like ours does, your DBs are, 100% better if they're a massive pass rush. But which, by the way, we can probably kiss Bryce Huff goodbye after this year. So, because I don't think we're gonna
Yeah.
pay what somebody else will to get him. So that's why I think Will McDonald is such an important piece to
He
this
had
defense.
a garbage time sack today.
That's okay though. I
Yeah.
want him on the field, and he's going to get a little bigger, a little stronger, and his technique will keep getting better. And I think I think we'll miss Bryce Huff a lot less once once he rounds into.
I hope you're wrong about that, Ray. You
I
really,
hope I am too. I'd love it if they sign him, but I'll be shocked.
why at this point? Is something,
I just think that he's going to get offered more than they want to pay for.
Again, if they had to, and they're gonna have guys off the payroll, the number, give or take, I heard is 17.1 million. So
Yeah.
that could buy, another year.
If they want to keep him at that, even I don't care what they're paying. If they
Right.
think they can keep him, I'm all for it. But I
Yeah.
just don't know that they will.
But listen, we're gonna close this out. I just want to do a shout out. I met a guy, Don from New City, New York. Jet fan since 1965. I want to say hello, Don, and he's a season ticket holder since 1980, which he wasn't going to go to the game today, but he's a good guy. As the Schupak washer was broken, I went. Me and the missus went to the laundromat, so I saw him, and like I always do, when I see somebody in a Jet hat or Jet jersey, I go right up to them. So shout out to Don. And again, before we close it out, remember, guys. Green Rewind, send in your questions. We're going to read them over the air. We'll probably do the preview podcast. I guess it's with the Dolphins on Friday. So get those questions in there. And if you want me to eat crow, put it in the form of a question. I'm happy to answer it. Anything else, guys, before we close this out? On Zach Wilson's best day as a Jet.
It is. So I don't want to be a downer too much. The only thing that irritated me the whole game, besides the refs, was our after Zach fumbled, which I wasn't. He was being aggressive. He got hit pretty good, and it's wet out. So I wasn't so mad at the fumble. I was mad at how our defense responded, where they went 2 plays later, they were inside the 10, and we gave up our only score.
well,
that
I'll
was
tell you, Ray, you can't get down to the end. This is the NFL. Their defense.
Oh, I mean,
It's just, I wonder if there's another team in the league that hasn't had a 300-yard passing game against them. I'd be curious because, once again, another top flight quarterback. The Jets do
did
really
he get to 100. Now I realize he went out early, but I don't think he was even at 100 yards when he went out. Stroud.
Yeah, but
No.
what I'll say about CJ Stroud, I mean, if you know football, even though he went out and they lost, you could see this guy's a quarterback.
Oh yeah.
You could
Well,
see-
the one thing you gotta love, like in the first half when they had like a 3rd and 4 something, he throws about a 50-yard bomb. I mean,
Yes.
he would have thrown a 2-yard pass. I mean, once in a while, you gotta do it. I'm hoping that they'll piggyback on this Hackett, and he'll let Wilson open it up a little more each week because if nothing else, at least it's entertaining.
Well,
It is-
and just to say, I realize the defense is the defense, and I was nitpicking there. But at the time that happened, we were up 14-0. Then they went down and scored and made it a game, and everybody in the bar was like, "Oh,
Here we go."
And we thought this is the beginning of them coming back and drilling us.
Well, Ray, my negativity with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, with my wife, and when he fumbles the ball, I said, if they score, we lost the game. She says, why do you say that? I said, because Zach will never have his confidence back, and I was wrong.
No,
Zach was great, and Nathaniel Hackett was great also.
Well, after that drive, our defense was back to how they were the rest of the game. So
Right.
everything kind of settled back down. So
2 things I just want to mention. Ralph, unfortunately, I think Jamie Sherwood's disappearing again. So that's one thing. The other thing is, what's his name? Who's the receiver? Not Cobb, the other guy.
Lazard.
Lazard is he cannot get open, and he missed a block on us. If he blocked this guy, I'm telling you, Brees Hall around the left side, he could have broken it.
Yeah, when you were reading off the receptions by the tight ends and Brees Hall, the glaring thing there is they don't have another wide receiver. I mean, Gibson, I think is fun and he'll be interesting, but he's not ready to be a number 2 wideout at this point, and that's a real hole they have on that offense.
It is a hole, and but I think you could actually cover it up in a way temporarily when you have guys like Conklin and Ruckert playing like the way they did.
I'm so happy for those guys because they probably feel like they're actual football players now. They've been gathering dust all year round, and I'm a big Conklin fan. I thought he had a good year last year. He is tough as nails, that guy, and
Do we have him, Ray, for another year? Because I think he loves it.
I believe it. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know about Conklin's contract. That's a good question.
But I'd like him to extend him if they
love it.
Locked up.
I love that. Sometimes he gets up a steam of heat. I mean, he does. I'm not comparing him as a small John Mackey impersonation carrying guys.
Yeah, he's intense, and I think he basically has good hands. He was getting difficult throws in the last year and a half, but he's catching stuff, and he gets belted sometimes and holds on, and he rolls for an extra yard or two, and I think he's a football player, that guy.
Yeah, and Ruckert is looking better and better.
Yeah, it's about time. Yeah,
his blocking is excellent, which is good. Our fullback, I'm not quite sure why we still have him on the field.
A couple of times he might have clogged up the middle on the pass rush, but they could get other guys to do that.
That's what I think. So, Ray, anything else before we close it out?
No, well, just stat wise, do you know how many yards Zach passed were in the second half?
I do. Actually, interesting you said that. In the second half, Zach was 18 for 21, 209 yards, and 2 touchdown passes. That's not bad.
And we were wondering if he'd hit 200 yards in the game. And
yeah. That's right.
And we were saying under, weren't we?
Yeah.
It was like 230, and I think I went over, and someone else did. We were my thinking was that the Jets were going to be playing from behind, so he was going to be filling the air with balls. I guess that was wrong. But they stayed aggressive even at the end. I like that idea.
Great. I mean, you got to do that.
Yeah.
All they got to do is add that one long Sharega pass. Let it rip downfield, which is phenomenal.
And I like that reverse on the third, and was it 4th and 1?
4th and 1 to Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
And he was close to breaking it.
I know.
Lazard missed the block.
Oh, was that one?
Yeah, if he had blocked that guy, he could have broken it.
Well, the good news is that had he gotten a hold of it, he probably would have had a penalty for it.
That's true. He would have called it for holding or illegal use of the hands. But they got to do, again, it's beating a dead horse. They got to do something about this refereeing. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not just this game. I watch other games, flag. I don't get what's going on this year. Do you think they're trying to protect the players? Is this the goal? Because it's just
it's funny because Ray over the years has said how he's kind of losing it for the NFL because it's turning into a touch football league, right, Ray?
Yeah.
And I'm going to predict it's going to get worse because of all these quarterback injuries this year. And I don't know what else they could do, but
that's the ridiculous thing. Look at all they've done, and it doesn't do a bit of good.
Stopped it. Yeah,
that's true.
And it's really all about money. It's not about the player safety. It's right. They've invested so much in these guys that these owners are like, we got to protect our investment. So they want them, to try and outlaw it, but it doesn't, like Ralph said, it doesn't stop it. I mean,
no, it ends up you get a penalty or you get fined, but the hit has already been made.
It's true. You're absolutely right.
You got a game where the guys are running, 90 miles an hour, and you think because there's some penalty if you do something the wrong way that it's going to slow them up.
Yeah,
that just isn't. That's not how they play. They just, go at it, and you lay a hit on somebody. You're thinking it's. You're going to lay a legal hit when you're doing it. You aren't going, well, what's the rule on this? I got to watch where my head is at and where I touch him with my, hand. I can't touch his helmet. I can't, they aren't doing that.
Yep. All right, we're going to close it out. And again, make sure you send those questions for us. And my big thing this time of year, make sure you donate to the your local food bank, wherever that is. Just walk right in, and go with a couple of cans of food. So for Ralph Schrager, who's down getting some sun for all three of us,
Pouring out here.
Ray Clifford and the Buckeye State, and Marty Schupak will be on for our preview show later in the week as we see if Zach Wilson can continue what he started today. For all of us at Jets Rewind, until next time.